The website is properly structured in a clear hierarchical structure itself. Parents, children, grandchildren, drill down, clear structure, and then from there you worry about how you interlink your pages, you worry about the keyword usage, and you understand how people flow through that content. On this next slide, this happens to be a particular topic that I like to talk about. We have a lot of people that come to us that have absolutely terrible websites. When you look at it, it looks like it's 20 years old. They haven't been updating it. They've been using it as sort of a brochure. It hasn't even been made to work on a mobile device yet. And they come to us and expect that we can change it and get it to rank #1 just by making a couple quick little easy things on the website. We've even had people say, well, my website's only 25 pages. There can't be much to SEO. What's it take to be #1? We need to understand, we are in a competitive space. Your competition may have a whole team of SEOs out there working on their project. That is not going to be, I can just fix your website and you're #1. They've obviously been working on theirs. The way this actually works is that if your website is terrible, that is the weapon we bring to the SEO battle to beat your competitors. And if you're basically giving us bows and arrows and they're using machine guns, we're in trouble. We cannot really compete. The job of SEO is simplified by having the right technology, the right hierarchy, the right structure. But if you have a pig, if that's your website, you're not going to find an SEO that can easily and successfully convert it into something that actually is competitive. It's not the job of SEO to make a pig fly. It's the job of SEO to take that pig and work with you to genetically engineer it into an eagle. Then you may have something that works. Way too many people come to us with old technology. They haven't updated their site in 5 years. They haven't updated content. The search engine sees every page on their site as being 5 years old, and they're expecting that the search engine is going to give them a reward in the face of people that have been maintaining their sites all along. That doesn't work. If you don't have a well-maintained site, you're not going to succeed. And you're going to find that all over the place in Google documentation. Please make sure your site's maintained. The next topic that I'm going to discuss is the consequence of cheap SEO. Many times you'll find layers of SEO expertise. In some cases, the entire company that's going to be doing your agency work, all of their staff is 6 months of experience. Recently out of college, a couple of training courses online, maybe, and then there's a process where they're learning on the job at your expense, of course. And that is a more common situation than you would think. We've seen people who have the title of senior SEO analyst that got out of college less than a year earlier. You can't be senior without at least 5 years. So that is not a very appropriate thing. It's an artificial title. You got to be careful of that. But cheap SEO really gets into the point where people are experimenting at your expense. And they often can be wrong. You've heard the saying, the cheaper you want it, the cheaper you get it. And you've heard, it's funny how I can never afford to do it right, but I can always afford to do it over. Both of those apply to where it is inexpensive. Do you want bad advice for half the price or good advice? What is the cost of time to market? How long is it going to take you to discover what went wrong after it goes wrong? We have many clients that come to us where we're their third or fourth or fifth even SEO company. And they've gone through them and gone through them and gone through them and tried things and just experimented and basically wasted all that money. Haven't seen any results. So, my advice, cheap SEO truly is a near-death experience. You cannot experiment on your own website just because you can save a little bit of money. And it isn't even clear you save money. Experts have the ability to do things the right way the first time and faster. It is difficult to say that's costing you more on a value level. So consider it. Cheap SEO is a near-death experience. My last topic has to do with the fact that this environment is constantly changing. One of the things I like to say is that SEO is done when Google stops changing things and all of your competition has died. Well, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. And the Google keeps changing things is a constant. Google has changed 3,000 times in a year. 8 to 9 times a day there is some form of algorithmic change. They have 100 teams working on next generation changes to the algorithm at any one time. This is a very difficult thing for any agency, let alone an in-house person, to be able to keep up with. You need to understand we're dealing with a dynamic, changing environment that is operated by a business whose sole purpose, because as a public company they would, their sole purpose is to make money, not to please websites. The way they make money is they please users. So they're leaning towards things that affect usability and whether the user is going to find that the content is really expert, whether this is a trusted site, whether they can actually present results, especially to a voice search, that really are accurate. They can't give medical advice that's wrong. They don't want to give financial advice that is wrong. And in fact, they don't want to give any advice that is wrong. Everything needs to be trusted. And when you are in an environment like that, where the search engine is going to be constantly changing and experimenting and trying to make itself better, those are changes, especially across hundreds of variables. Those are changes that are going to really seriously impact on a day-to-day basis how you perform in search results. And I think we all understand the top 10, they get the traffic. The top 5 get more traffic. The top 1 really makes out. You can't live in that environment with the search engine changing the algorithm every day. Then you have your competition. If you do a search for any keyword and get 1 million results, if they change their page 1 time a year, just once, you have 30,000 competitor changes a day. 300 days in a year. So when people are going to be optimizing a website, when you're having help, an agency or in-house, and they are actually working to improve your website, this is a constant battle. This is not an opportunity for you to say, oh, I did SEO, and be done with it. You cannot ever be done with SEO. The search engines have seen to it. So to wrap things up, there's multiple things that I've talked about. The first, you have to commit to SEO. It has to be a corporate initiative. You cannot just randomly do SEO in a little office down there on that floor of your building and expect everybody to be supportive and understand it and set priorities. So you have to pay attention to that. The second thing I discussed was you actually need to be beating your competition and not trying to beat an algorithm. If the algorithm changes 8 times a day, that battle is insurmountable. And if the algorithm itself is different for every single keyword that you're trying to optimize for, that makes it really difficult for you to say, I'm going to beat the algorithm. Your job is to beat your competition. The third thing I talked about is the architecture of your site. You need to structure it. You need to have it be parent, child, grandchild, a clear hierarchy. That's going to establish a node, if you will, within your website where you can prove that you are a subject matter expert. The next one is you're not going to be able to make a pig fly. If your website has not been maintained, it is time for a new website. It is something that has to be current. But if you're so far out of date, you don't get to pull in an SEO and say, push the easy button, I want to rank tomorrow. It's a really difficult thing to make the search engine aware that you are actively involved with your website, especially in the face of competitors that are probably changing it every day. I mentioned that cheap SEO is cheap and that it may not be the highest value. That hiring a professional organization is much better than hiring somebody that's an intern. You need to be able to get it done right, and get it done properly first time. You can't afford to do it over. And then I mentioned that this is not a do it once, thank you very much, I'm done. You actually have a program here where it takes forever. And as soon as you think you've accomplished something, 5 more things pop up. Maybe it's a little bit like a whack-a-mole. I don't know, if you don't know what a whack-a-mole is, but that's sort of what SEO is. And every time you get a change made, you have no idea whether Google's going to change something else. And that makes it a perpetual project. You're going to be going on and on and on forever. That's SEO. To wrap it up, I'm going to tell you a little bit about us. We've been in business since January of '96, which is 24 years. I started the business on my dining room table. We're now on 5 continents. Hundreds of employees across the world. I've spoken myself at over 300 conference sessions. I sponsor conferences. I've written 3 books. And if you actually go to Google and do a search for who is the father of SEO, I pretty much own the first 5 pages. I have been around and been an advocate of SEO for a very, very long time. It matters to me that people understand how it works, that it isn't going to be something that is tedious, that it's fun. We get to solve puzzles for a living. This is the ultimate, for me at least, the ultimate career, and I am so happy to be here. Our whole company is focused on SEO and other search marketing programs that are like it, pay-per-click content. That's what we do, and I encourage you that if you're interested to give us a call.